Hello there, what is going on everybody? Today I wanted to do a little bit of a comparison of the actual miniatures between Star Wars Armada and Star Trek Into the Unknown. This is kind of a response to certain discussions that have been happening lately when it applies to miniatures and the cost to produce miniatures, and there claims that it's that you would lose money to continue to produce Armada. And, then citing WizKids coming out with this game. And some people have said, well, the miniatures aren't of the same quality. So I wanted to kind of showcase them, line them up side by side, point out some of the differences and the distinctions, also compare the sizes and kind of what you're getting, and some pros and cons there, and also look at the costs of the core set and kind of compare those to each other. But we're going to do that in this video. If you guys like what you see here, I'd love to have you stick around, subscribe, click that like button, share that button. We do giveaways all the time. We're going to be announcing one at the end of this video for that latest $25 Amazon gift card. All you have to do to enter any of my giveaways is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's as simple as that. So let's dive in and compare some of the ship quality. So I want to start with looking at small ships, because there's definitely a distinction. There's different sizes of small ships. Armada has larger small ships like the Gladiator, and also has kind of smaller small ships like the Raider. The Corellian Corvette and the Nebulon that come in the core set are kind of closer to this size as well, and there's also a variety of different bases. Whereas the small ships that we've got in Star Trek Into the Unknown are significantly smaller. Even the Defiant, which is the larger of the two types, still don't necessarily compare in size quality to the small ships of Armada. These are definitely a little bit bigger, but not so much that it's like drastically different, right? Now, paint applications are great both ways around. You're getting probably better paint applications on the Star Wars Armada stuff than you do on here, but it's still fairly close. I think, like, when you look at something like this Jem'Hadar fighter, it's pretty clean. You've got clear panel lines. You've got paint applications. You got like 3 different colors on here. You got a base of sort of like a lavender metallic, and you've got more of a purple highlights there, and then you've got light blue highlights there. Whereas here is you have a gray base with like a darker gray highlights and then black lights as well. And then you have engine glow in here. And you do also have engine glow on these ships as well, although I don't think there's really much to speak of on this particular ship. But here we're definitely getting some engine glow. So that is definitely something worth thinking about. Now, we're going to go up to base size as well. The base sizes are a little bit bigger there. But still, we're in the same ballpark. Let's look at medium ships as well. So we'll pull out, we'll do a couple of different medium ships. Now the medium ships are definitely larger, right? We've got kind of, this is the size difference of our medium. So definitely these ships are a little smaller when you compare them to the Victory. A little closer when we compare it to the Quasar. So that's kind of comparable. So mediums, but this is a little bit of a smaller one of the mediums, because technically a Gladiator kind of should have been a medium. This is kind of on par with a Gladiator as far as size, but also on par with the Quasar. Now, since this guy just came off, let's talk about bases. Bases is an interesting thing, and one where I actually think Star Trek kind of wins as far as bases go. One interesting part of that is that you have different types of bases. We've got this particular type. It has the big, indented clip on here, whereas here every single ship has the same type. Compared to, we also have these little types here, which are a pain in the butt because these inevitably break off. If you've got Nebulons or CR90s with the little pegs broken in there, I sympathize. I have quite a few hammerheads too. They always seem to break off. Whereas here they just have a tiny little piece on each ship on the bottom that clips into these bases, and these are an adjustable base system, so you can definitely put them in and take them out kind of at will. I will say the paint applications are better on the Armada ships, though, right? You're definitely seeing, every single panel line having a really good wash in there. The Constellations still got good paint apps, but it's just not quite as thorough as this. But it's still close. It's still comparable. Armada is just the clear winner as far as the paint applications. And I can understand that it's it's pretty good stuff. This is also a great point to highlight the material differences, because there's also, I believe, is a different type of plastic. Armada ships are very hard, very, very, very hard, and there's no give to them. And the Star Trek is, I think they're made with a slightly different plastic. It's a slightly different tap. It actually sounds about the same on that portion, but over here, what we can see, there's some bend in here, and you can kind of, in the thinner pieces, you can feel it. There's a little bit of give, right? A little bit of give. So it's like a more of a rubbery type of plastic than this, which is like that hard. I don't know all the names of all my different types of plastic, but this is kind of like this type of stuff that you would build if you were putting it together off of a sprue. So I can definitely see there being a material difference. And maybe that same material is one of the things that allows the paint to kind of, have deeper, more clear groove lines and things like that. As far as the plasticky nature of it, though, this is the only ship that it really ends up being an issue on. And to me, it's not even an issue. Mine holds itself together pretty much perfectly. It's only going to bend if I try to make it bend, and I usually don't do that. I'm only doing it for this video. So that's an interesting thing. Let's look at large ships. All right, so for large, we need to zoom out a little bit. There we go. We got the Imperial Star Destroyer, which is the biggest of the big. And a little bit comparable to the Dominion Battlecruiser, right? A little bit comparable there. Definitely in the same ballpark, which is a cool thing. Now, this is a big honking ship. The Enterprise is not quite as big. The Enterprise is certainly kind of in the ballpark, but noticeably smaller, but definitely bigger than I believe it's bigger than a medium ship. I think the Victory is one of the larger medium ships, but yeah, Enterprise is definitely bigger than a Victory. So the Enterprise still belongs in the class of large ships as far as scale and stuff is concerned. Again, great paint applications on here, but honestly, the Enterprise is maybe the best out of the whole bunch. Has very, very good paint applications on there. Not exactly the same line work, right? Like some of the whatever wash got applied to this. Seems like a little bit of it may have dried on the top and didn't sink into all of the panel lining as deep. Now that's something that can easily be touched up, and maybe I'll do that at some point and attempt a little wash on here. Whereas these panel lines are very, very, very distinct. The Enterprise could have had a slightly different wash process. So there's obviously some differences in the factories, and then you look at a ship like the Jem'Hadar Battlecruiser, and it's very, very different. A whole different style, a whole different methodology that kind of went into it, like making a ship like this. But also, it's they're looking at the canon material. This is how they looked. So you're not going to get exactly. It's like apples to oranges, I guess, in a certain point of view. There's also tremendous levels of detail that are on here with all of these little lights. We'll try and zoom in on some of those. You can see. Look at that stuff right there. That's kind of crazy. And I believe this is decals, which is another thing that Star Trek has that Star Wars doesn't really do. So incredibly tiny decals on here. USS Defiant, really, really small. And that's a super cool amount of detail. Like even on the bottom of the nacelles here, you can see service numbers and things like that, which is awesome. Now, I did say Star Wars doesn't do decals. They obviously do. You can always do decals on your Star Wars stuff, and I think the Clone Wars ships for Armada do have. I'm not 100% sure if it's decals on those or not, but they certainly could be. But as far as like Rebels and Empire, there's not very many, and definitely not like decals of lettering. It would be more like decals of just that, that circular sort of pattern that the Republic uses. But here we've got super tiny, awesome levels of detail, and also here, although there is with decals, there is the chance that it can kind of pinch like a little bit. So Enterprise, there is a little bit pinched. Maybe it was battle scar and painted back together. And we've got the underside as well. So lots of decals, lots of little things like we're going to see right there, CC1701D. We've got a lot of little bits, and then like this Federation decals and a lot of that cool stuff. So you're seeing a lot of really excellent detail on here as well. Even stuff like right there, I can barely make out, but you know, it's the level of detail on the decals is incredible, and the Enterprise as a whole looks fantastic. Although pointing out, I did repaint this in a different video as well because it didn't have the engine glow, and I wanted that glow effect on there. So that would have been just the reddish copper effect. But and I guess this is another thing to point out is that we have you know, potentially detachable ships and more things like that. That can and there's more ships that do this sort of thing in Star Trek too, so maybe we'll see that again. So then the other thing I want to talk about is the price difference between the games, because I've also seen people saying that Star Trek Into the Unknown, now that's MSRP at $150 for the core set, and that's a little, you know, out of price range. That's a little too expensive for a core set, I've heard some people say. I'd like to remind everybody that the Star Wars Armada core set was $100 at release, and the only came with 3 ships, a medium and 2 small, whereas here you're getting 2 large, a medium, and 3 small. Now you did also get squadrons, but they were also unpainted, so not too much of the cost went into that. It was like 4 X-wings and 6 TIE fighters squadrons. So you definitely had a bunch of squadrons that could also be a part of it. So going, you know, comparing only ships isn't necessarily the most exact comparison, but it is one of the most difficult parts to get produced and assembled and painted, and one of the things that adds to cost the most is the whole pre-painted, pre-assembled you know, ship aspect of the game. And so that's where you're getting a lot more value for here. Now also let's talk about inflation. When Armada came out, a $100 core set was a little on the steep side of things, especially compared to X-Wing's like $29 core set at the time. So that was a significant uptick. However, you know, everything that's coming out today, if we use like Star Wars Legion as a kind of barometer, a single Special Forces expansion, you know, that used to be like around $25 to $29, you know, back when Legion launched, which was after Star Wars Armada launched. It costs about $55. You know, so for the new ones that are coming out now. So there's definitely been an inflation of about like 85, somewhere in there, 85 to 90% increase. Whereas even if it was a 1-to-1, this would only be about a 50% increase for, you know, core set to core set. So I feel like this is just a really tremendous value for what you're getting. And I do think it sort of looks like the quality is definitely better for Armada. But I want to ask you guys a question. If in order to keep Armada going, they had to sort of adopt a softer plastic and, you know, like basically use a different factory, and you still had quality that was as amazing as this, but you know, you had maybe a slight bend, like if I wanted to bend these apart a little bit, I could, whereas I, you know, can't really bend that at all, you know. So I'm like I don't know, to me that slight little bit of bendiness in the plastic isn't a big deal at all, especially as far as gameplay goes. You know, I'm not really interested in you know, whether or not my ships can bend, but I know it's not just about the bendability. It's also about the paint applications, and the type of material can be more expensive, and maybe the license can also be more expensive. So there's a lot of different variables in there, and some people also prefer Star Wars over Star Trek and vice versa. But if they could change up the materials and you know, have it maybe be of a different quality level while still be, obviously it would still be good, you know, I don't know why they didn't consider doing that. But what are you guys' thoughts? Would you love to see you know, Star Wars Armada move to a company that, you know, had a different factory that could produce the game, but maybe the models wouldn't match up exactly with their predecessors? Like maybe the new Victory Star Destroyer would look a little different. Maybe it would have a lighter coat of paint or something like that. But it meant that they could actually, you know, mass produce the game and still make a profit. It'd be interesting to see. So that's my thoughts about that. I also do want to congratulate our latest $25 Amazon gift card giveaway winner, and that is going to be Gloomforged. Congratulations, and just go ahead and shoot me an email at mailcrabbok@gmail.com, and I'll get your details and we'll get you squared away. If you didn't win this one, don't worry. There'll be another giveaway happening soon. Make sure you just subscribed, leave a comment, let me know some of your thoughts, and we'll see you in the next one. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are amazing. and help make this whole channel possible. And as always, may the force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. So say we all. And always wash your socks.